Hi guys, Blake here with Lilley's Landing Resort and Marina. Gonna do the one cast for you today. It is Thursday, August the 29th of 2019. They're running a little less than 4 units of water. Today I'm gonna be throwing a 3 32nd ounce sculpin head, sculpin feathered Lilley's Landing jig. And we are fishing just a little bit below lookout point on the shallow side. So, a little bit about me. I was born and raised in Columbia, Missouri. From the time I was about four or 5 years old, I've been an avid fisherman. I started fishing with my grandpa, and he used to tell me he never had time to put his line in the water because he was taking fish off for me. The house that I grew up in had a 14-acre lake on it, and my mom will attest that every waking moment I didn't have to be in school, I was walking around that lake, whether it was 105 degrees or 0 degrees outside. Fishing's always been my passion. Oh, looks like we might have one here on the one cast. So I grew up fishing bass and crappie and catfish with my grandpa and at the lake behind my house. And it's always been my favorite thing to do in the world. I got into trout fishing about 5 years ago with my stepdad. He went on a vacation with one of his nephews, and they went up to Michigan and went salmon fishing. And he kind of got into fly fishing, and he set me up with a little outfit, and we started fly fishing together, and that was when I fell in love with trout fishing. And I'll tell you, I've been hooked ever since. As soon as I started fly fishing, I started tying my own flies and really getting into all of it. Let's see if we can land this guy without breaking my jig like I did last time. All right, pretty fish there. Got one on the one cast today. Whoa. Pretty fish. All right. So I'll talk a little bit about what I do when it comes to jigging today. One of the first things I pay attention to whenever I'm going out to fish here on Lake Taneycomo is the water generation, because that's going to determine the amount of weight on my jig head that I want. General rule of thumb is that if they're running 0 to 1 units of water, you want to fish a 1/32 ounce jig or somewhere in there. 1 to 2 units, and 2 to 3 I'll fish a 1/16 ounce. And then getting into the 3 to 4, a 3/32 or an 1/8 ounce. Today I'm using the 3/32. Oh, still hung up here. There we go. So whenever I cast a jig out, no matter where you're at on the water, you want the jig to go down to the bottom, because generally that's where the fish are. Once my jig reaches the bottom, I leave a little bit of slack in my line, so that way when I pop it, I'm not bringing it all the way up off the bottom, and I'm leaving a little bit of room for the line to sink back down again. No matter which part of the water I'm fishing over, so if you're in a boat and you're drifting over the bottom, it tends to change depth quite often. So depth is something I pay attention to, and no matter what depth the water is, I want that jig to be sinking down to the bottom. So we got another one on here. Oh, he's a little guy. Look at that little guy. So to me, leaving the slack in the line and giving it room to sink back down and hit the bottom is important. Whenever I picture the jig in the water, I picture it either hitting the bottom or right before it hits the bottom, jigging it again. I found that there have been days where I've been out in a smaller jerk with faster jerks in between is sometimes what they want. And some days they want a nice big pop where it comes up off the bottom and it takes a long time to fall. Most of the time they'll hit it on the fall. There's another one there. This one feels a little bit nicer. Just like right there, that one hit it on the fall just as it was falling. So sometimes they like it with a little more time to fall, and sometimes they like those faster jerks where it falls a little bit less. Once you get all that down, then next is kind of picking your color choice. For me, I know that in the summertime, when it's warmer and the water's real clear, the darker colors, your olives, your browns, your blacks, your sculpins, the silhouette that they let off in the water seems to be what works better. At least that's what I've found. Let's try to get this guy off the hook here. Another nice little 12 or 13 incher there. There we go. Today I decided to drift down the shallow side but fish out towards the middle. But once you get all the methods down for how to work it in the water and what weight to use, sometimes it's just about digging through your box and trying out those different colors. If you have a little bit of luck on a sculpin and peach, switch to a sculpin and ginger or an all sculpin, and just try to play around and see which color it is that they're really looking for. I haven't got a lot of fishing reports today. Pretty slow day down on the dock. So I haven't heard how anyone else was doing today, but it seems to be that this little sculpin jig's working out pretty well. Another reason I chose to fish the middle of the water here today, there's a line kind of right now. I'm probably sitting over 5 foot of water or so, and out there where I'm fishing in the middle, there's a line where it goes from deep and it starts shallowing up again. And today that seems to be where I'm hooking into them the most, is right there in that line where it starts to shallow. And those are kind of things to watch for when you're out here fishing, because a lot of the time the fish will be laying in little areas like that. Oh, there was another one, missed him. Right now I'm coming up on the narrows here, starting to drift over the top of that, so the water is shallowing up. We're probably setting over 3.5 or 4 foot of water now. All right, I think we'll try one last cast here. See if we have any luck. Today I'm kind of giving it a harder jerk and giving it a little more time to fall. I know a lot of people, whenever they come out here and they try jig fishing for their first time, or they tend to be afraid to jerk it, you know. As long as you leave that slack in there, and you can give it a, you know, a pretty good jerk and give it that action and let it come up and fall again. All right, well, that's it for the one cast today. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you again tomorrow.